quick. Good morning. I want to make sure that I am respectful of all of your time, and so I'm going to go ahead and get us started, and we can expect a few people to join us as they arrive. I'm Valerie Schutte. I am the Executive Director of Human Resources here at Jackson Community College, and I'd like you to please help me to welcome Dr. Barbara Howes with the School of Social Work from Western Michigan University. She is here to tell us a little bit about herself and to talk with us about relating to students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Barbara?
Thank you. Oh, good, it's working. A lot of you are just a very tiny dot because I'm staring into lights. So, but I'm laughing because when I teach at Western, this is often what happens. The back rows are full. So, I got my bachelor's degree at Western in '82 in interpersonal communications. I went back to school in '91 and received my master's in social work in '93. I am currently a doctoral candidate. I am in my 4th chapter of 5 for my dissertation. Yay! Yeah, had I known how painful it would be, I probably would have done something differently. But just a little background. I worked in school systems, K through 12 for 10 years. While I've had a real job, I've also done private practice on the side. So for the past 15 to 20 years, I've been working with families from poverty that are really overburdened with many, many issues. And I also personally am from poverty. My children are the first children in our family not to have received social service assistance. I'm the youngest of 8, and I am the first in our entire extended family to have gone to college. So some of the things I'm speaking to you today about are going to be some of my own personal experiences and how I had to learn almost a whole different language. It was as though I was leaving my country of poverty and going to a foreign land of middle class and learning how to communicate in a different way and to value different things without completely shunning what I learned and what I grew up with. I have 5 boys, aging 11 to 28, and so I'm always glad to be in a room where there's any women, any estrogen, so please send all the estrogen this way. Let's see. Oh, and I've been faculty at Western for 5 years in the social work department. Mostly I teach for the first 4 years, I taught a lot of graduate students working with families with poverty in individual, group, and family treatment. But I also do undergrad, the bachelor's students who have not decided on a major yet. So I do some of the recruitment classes and then just some of the general the kind of social work 101 courses. So I'm hoping that you feel comfortable to raise your hand and speak up. What I'd encourage you to do this morning is to really give some thought to yourself and what socioeconomic background do you come from, and what socioeconomic background do other people in your life come from, not just your students, but your coworkers or your spouses or your partners, because it can be really interesting to marry across socioeconomic statuses, and where one person values money in one way and another person values money in another way. Someone thinking it's meant to be invested and other people thinking it's meant to be spent the minute we get it. So be thinking about that, and hopefully you'll have a few aha moments. And any questions or comments are definitely welcome. Okay? We're all good? Okay, did everybody get a copy of the handout? If not, they, I think, are right outside the door. Okay, so I title my presentation that poverty is more than money, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, all we need to do is give them money. and they won't have these struggles and problems anymore, and everything will be okay. Whereas in reality, money has a whole different value for people who live in generational poverty. And it's not meant to be saved. It's not meant to be conserved. It's not meant to be budgeted. It is meant to be spent and used. And it is meant to be, if you have a loved one or a friend who needs money and you have money, the expectation is you will share that. And vice versa. If you need money, the expectation is someone who has it is going to help you out. And there is no expectation in poverty of repayment. So a loan doesn't mean any payment, any payback. How many of you would say that you were raised in a middle class? Okay, how many poverty? How many wealth? Okay, so those of you from middle class, if I were to tell you that today your homework is you need to go home and call family members and say, I need $500. Yeah, there's a pervasive groan. How many of you would feel really uncomfortable doing that? Okay, how many of you would have a repayment agreement if you did that? Okay, in poverty, there is not necessarily a repayment agreement. It's not really that uncomfortable to ask, and it's a given that you will be asked. And the expectation is that if you have it, of course, you're going to share it. So you can see how, with the students that we're working with, and many of the students that I try to mentor individually, they feel like, wow, if I say no to my family and friends, it feels like I'm betraying them, or I'm not being a good sister or a good friend. Does that make a little bit of sense? Okay. Okay, let me get the clicker here. So a definition of culture, because I think a lot of times we mistakenly think culture equals color. And when we do a lot of our diversity trainings, we focus on different ethnic heritages and the color of skin. And in reality, in our society, there are lots of different cultures. And culture, if we can kind of just look at it today and think of it as, it's you inherit or learn language, customs, traditions, rituals, and histories, and expectations of one another. And there's just different way of doing and being and thinking in a culture. But I think the other piece is that it is a source of enrichment, that many times people have a perception of poverty as being bad. And I mean, it's not all fun and games, but there can be a lot of really valuable lessons that can be learned regardless of which culture that you come from. So some of the different cultures, I want you to think really broadly about that. Sexual orientation can be a different culture. Disability, and I put in parentheses deaf with a capital D. How many of you are familiar with the two cultures of the deaf community, with a capital D and lowercase d? Okay, how many, can you tell me what you think, your perception is? Those of you that raised your hand. I'm sorry?
Isn't there a difference between those who were born deaf and those who became deaf later on?
Yep, that's part of it.